Ever since Athlete X made his video on quarter squats, I've been getting a lot of questions on the exercise. So this will not be a response video, but I'm going to talk about the movement and whether or not you should do it. So I'll first say that when you understand that strength is joint angle specific, the idea of using quarter squats to raise your vertical jump makes sense. This is exactly what we see in the arm wrestling world. The top guys perform partial rep curls because it addresses the joint angles that you would see in that given sport. And obviously when we talk about sprinting, vertical jump, etc., you're not going to go in a deep ass to grass position. This is why many football players, many sprinters use quarter squats. In fact, it's been reported that Ben Johnson used to do a lot of high box squats. So this is nothing surprising. In fact, that study that people keep referencing came out in 2016. And I was one of the first people to talk about it and actually defend LeBron James when he was doing quarter squats, although I wasn't a fan of the way he did them. And that's kind of what I want to talk about in today's video. I'm all for joint angle specificity, but manual partials is something that I cannot promote. I think it's dangerous, and this is why people get bad knees from squats. You're not supposed to reverse from that quarter squat position or even going above parallel in general. You can lift hundreds of pounds more than your standard squat. So when you go beyond 100%, training the specific joint angles that cause the most amount of shearing forces, to me, that's a recipe for disaster. Like, you will end up in Snap City. So there is, in my opinion, a smarter way to utilize the joint angles that you want for vertical jump and sprinting and all that. Just break up the eccentric concentric chain. This will solve all of your problems, which means do a high box squat or a pin squat. This is what the old school strongmen or the old school legends figured out a long time ago. So if you break it up at the point where you're not supposed to reverse, it deloads the knees. And now you can stand back up. And I would argue that from that perspective, you're actually strengthening the tendons and ligaments and developing more explosiveness. In fact, dead stop training is the best way of doing this. It builds true reversal strength. You're really maximizing that rate of force development as well. Like, this is the way of squatting for athletes, in my opinion. So we can do that same philosophy when talking about the vertical jump. Squat off a high box, and most of you can do this. Just do it off a bench. Problem solved. Make sure the height is, say, between 17, 20 inches. 20 probably more so resembling a quarter squat. Sit down and then stand back up. Right there, you've eliminated the knee issue. Box squats are a lot safer on the knees. They're easier to recover from. And the same exact thing can be done for pin squats. So although the study that was used performed regular manual quarter squats, what it's not factoring in is the long-term effects from doing this exercise. It's a short-term study, and all the anecdote from decades of lifting supports the idea that doing quarter squats over a long period of time will wreck your knees. And the second thing that you could do, which is arguably more athletic, and of course it's going to address the overload, is using accommodating resistance. If you want to talk about combining a partial and a full range into one, bands and chains certainly accomplish that, because it'll be heavier at the top, heavier in the position where you would normally do a quarter squat. So if you have 400 pounds of free weight with a 100-pound band, well, now it's 500 at the top. So you're getting that deep range of motion, which is going to save the knees completely and also give you carryover to other activities and full range in general. But then once you get to the top, it all of a sudden gets really hard. So you got to push through it. And that's how you build explosiveness in an athletic way. Much safer, much more efficient from a general strength training perspective. And the same thing can be said for chains. As you get down to the bottom, the chain is deloaded, you start to stand back up, they lengthen, and all of a sudden it gets really heavy. And you can mix up the tensions on that and really prevent overuse and plateau. So that's how you really maximize the benefits of quarter squats. Not by doing quarter reps in a manual fashion. Pin squat or a box squat is far superior in every possible way. And then the accommodating resistance gives you the benefits that you want as well. And again, you can use this for max effort attempt and dynamic effort. So dynamic effort, 3-week waves, let's say 50, 55, 60, or even lower, say 35, 40, 45, or 30, 35, 40, will build the explosiveness that you need for sports. And then when you're really maximizing the system, you throw in some box jumps on top of it and other little accessories, and you're really flying. So again, I support the idea of using quarter squats because of joint angle specificity. You can watch more of the videos talking about this exact subject, but I'll never in a million years prescribe manual quarter squats. There's safer ways to train that offer more benefits. And as I outlined in this video, bands, chains, pins, and boxes are number one. And you can also break it up by using the belt squat, by the way, because a belt squat is much more difficult. The weights have to be reduced by a major amount. So it's a high stimulus to fatigue ratio. That's another thing too. Think about the axial loading. Thing that's not going to hurt your recovery. Thing that's not going to affect you when doing assistance movements. This can negatively impact your hypertrophy work. This can affect the entire strength training program. So we have to be mindful of that as well. That's why you got to use harder variations like I talked about that are also smarter at the same time. So that is my complete perspective on quarter squats. I hope this video was helpful. Give me feedback down below, and I'll talk to you all next time.